Hi, in this video I'm going to explain how to read scales. As you can see from the pictures, there are many different types of scales. Usually they are circular or in a straight line. Before we go ahead and read some scales, we need to get practice with a different type of number exercise, some sequencing exercises. These are simply fill in the numbers exercises, but it'll use exactly the same method as we'll apply to read scales. First, what do? We need to take note of the start and end point of our sequence. So in this first one, it's 0 and 10. We need to find what we call the range of the sequence, and that means comparing those two positions. 10 take away 0 is equal to 10, so our range is 10. Next, we've got to count the evenly numbered jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. In this case, the number of jumps is equal to 10. We've got enough information now to find the key. The increment key will tell us how much each jump is worth and how much the sequence is going up or down by. We do this by taking the range and dividing it by the number of jumps. So 10 divided by 10 gives us 1. Each jump is adding on 1 more. Let's test it out. 0 add 1 is of course 1. 1 add 1, 2. 2 add 1, 3. And so on until we get to the end of our sequence. And we can see it makes sense. Okay, let's apply that exact same method to the second sequence. It begins at 20 and ends at 40. So our first task is to find the range. We find the range by comparing the two numbers, the start and end point. 40 take away 20, and that gives us, we know, 20. Now let's count the even jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The number of jumps in this case is 5. And let's find the increment key. We divide the range, 20, by the number of jumps, and that gives us 4. Our increments are going up in 4. Let's fill in the sequence. 20 add 4, 24. 24 add 4, 28. 32, 36 and 40. It makes sense. I hope you're getting the hang of the method now. So for the third sequence, the starting point is 150, the end point is 250. So again, we need to compare those two positions to find the range. 250, take away 150, and you know it's 100. Next, we count the steps or the jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4. The number of jumps is equal to 4. Now we can get the key. The key, again, will be dividing that range by the number of equal jumps. So 100 divided by 4. And we know that that gives us 25. So our key is plus 25. Let's test it out in the sequence. 150 add 25, 175. 175 add 25, 200. 225. And then if we were to add another 25, it'd be 225, giving us 250. Before we look at the last sequence, let's remind ourselves of this method. So just like before, we look at the start and the end point of our sequence, and we can tell that the range this time will be 1. 4 take away 3 is 1. Next we count the number of even jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 jumps. And now we have enough information to get that increment key, and we know it's going to be a value that is less than one whole number. So our key this time will be 1, which is the range, divided by 10 jumps, and that gives us 0.1. It's a tenth. Now we're ready to fill out our sequence. Because we're going up in tenths, we know that there are 10 tenths in one whole. So we really want this value to be 3.9, because that would be the 9 tenths, and the 10 tenths will bring us onto 4, the whole number. Let's see. 3 add 0.1 is 3.1. 3.1, and we're adding on 0.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, and so on. Each time we're adding on that value of 0.1. And look, our sequence makes sense. If you feel confident completing these type of missing number sequence exercises, then you're ready now to read some scales. Before we begin, here are the tips to remind you to the steps to our method. Let's apply the method to reading this scale. What volume of water is in the measuring jug? Well, step 1 was to find the range. This time, instead of looking at the whole range of the scale, we're just going to look at these two readings, 300 and 400, because they're benchmarking the increment that we're interested in. Compare the numbers. 400 take away 300 leaves us with 100. Next, we're going to count the number of jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4. It takes 4 jumps. And now we've got enough information to find that increment key. 100 divided by 4, and we know that that gives us a value of 25. So each jump we're going to be adding on 25. Let's label our scale. 300 add 25, 325. 325 add 25, 350, 375, and then another 25 would bring us to 400. So now we're ready to take our reading. The volume of water in the measuring jug is equal to 325 millilitres. Okay, here's another example to work through. What volume of liquid is in the measuring cylinder? Let's apply our method. Okay, this time let's take a reading from a circular scale. What speed is the car travelling at? Well, we're going to apply exactly the same method. First of all, we're going to look at the two numbers on either side of our reading. So the range that we're interested in is the difference between 40 and 20. And that is 20. Now we're going to count up the number of jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4. So our jumps is equal to 4. And now we can calculate the key. As before, we take the range and we divide it by the number of equal jumps, and that will give us 5. We're in a position now to label our scale and take our reading. So that would be 25. That would be 30. Next reading is 35, and that's the one we're interested in. And just to check, 35 add 5 will bring us to that end value of 40. So what speed is the car travelling? Well, the car is travelling at 35 miles per hour. Here we've got a weighing scales and we're being asked, what's the weight of the box? Well, first, let's look at the scale that we're interested in. It weighs in kilograms and it starts at 0 and goes up in ones. So it's going up in a kilogram each time. And range that we're interested in is between 0 and 1 because our reading, the weight of the box, is going to be less than 1 kilogram. We know the range then is 1 because 1 take away 0 is 1. Let's count the increments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The number of jumps is 10. We're going to find our key by dividing the range by the number of jumps. Now we can simply take our reading. We can see the weight of the box is 0.7 kilograms. Now that we've had a look at a few different examples, I'd like you to pause the video and read the temperature on the thermometer. When you're ready, press play to resume and check to see whether you got the same reading as I did. I hope you found this video useful and that you now are a little bit more familiar with using the method of reading scales and sequences.